Thank you, Chair. My name is Ava Flanell. I'm the Vice President of Legislative Engagement for Colorado State Shooting Association. I strongly urge a no vote for this bill. This bill is both financially immoral and duplicative. To start, the bill sponsors are playing an unconstitutional numbers game to try and avoid throwing a flag on the budget. And the reason they're doing it is to try and avoid a constitutional requirement. This bill pretends it's not taking money from sportsmen because it's illegal under federal law to do that. So instead, they're going to steal money from state parks and hope the Trump administration doesn't find out about it. Because when they do, it opens the door for an audit and the possibility of taking away $27 to $32 million in funding for conservation and education as stated in the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 80.21. Additionally, the $4 million note on this bill is incredibly low, not a good representation of what to expect if this bill should pass, but I'm sure others will address this. As far as the training requirements of this bill, it's redundant and a waste of money. In order to purchase a firearm in Colorado, all sales must be done through a federal firearms licensee, and the buyer must go through a background check conducted by Colorado Bureau of Investigation. Why must buyers go through 2 background checks now? In order to get a concealed carry permit, citizens must take an 8-hour class and learn everything that's already requested in this bill. If this bill should pass and citizens do not have a hunter's safety license, they will be forced to take 20 hours of training that covers the same material just to own a semi-auto long gun and have a concealed carry permit. This bill is a waste of resources. It's a waste of Colorado Parks and Wildlife's time. And again, this bill just puts Colorado in jeopardy of losing the Pittman-Robertson revenue because of immoral bill sponsors who have no respect for wildlife and conservation. Please vote no on this ridiculous bill. Thank you.
Representative Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This question is for Ms. Flanell. I know that you are a instructor. Was just wondering how much you charge as an instructor, and what do you see the problems with these classes? If CPW is already 120 days behind and we have a lack of instructors, how is this going to harm the people of Colorado?
Ms. Flanell.
So I charged $100, but now that I have to teach an 8-hour class, which previously my class was about 4 to 5 hours, and it included everything that is in the requirements. I've been teaching since 2013. I can teach pretty quickly, but now because I have to waste time and spend 8 hours, I'm charging $200. I don't know what I would charge for a 12-hour class. That's going to be a lot more expensive because obviously the time that it's taking away from, from my day. So far, just with the concealed carry class, so this law was not even supposed to go into effect until July 1st. But because everybody went and got their concealed carry permit before this law went into effect, right now, the sheriff's office, the sheriff's department in my county, which is El Paso, is they are booked out until August. So as a result, everybody had to get certified in order for anybody to get their concealed carry permit. That a lot of people weren't ready for. I think I was number 26 of the instructors, and I think that maybe there's only about 30 now. And so as a result, there's limited instructors. A lot more people want to get their concealed carry permit. They're not going to be able to get it quickly. And I have a feeling that the same thing is going to happen with this. It's, by the time you get, because there's so many different departments that you have to go through, and then the training, and you have to get your card from CPW, take the class. I have to put in some information. Then they have to go to the sheriff's department. Then they have to go through another background check. People have said that it's going to take weeks to a few months. I honestly think it's going to take close to a year.
Additional questions for this panel, Representative Bradley and then Hartsook, and I'm going to allow a little extra time on this panel. I know there's a lot of questions for this group.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Ms. Flanell, that $200 doesn't even include all the other fees that are going to be attached to this, correct?
That's correct. Sorry. Thank you, Chair. That is correct. So what would happen is once the student takes my class, then with a concealed carry permit, they would then make their appointment with the sheriff's department. And in my county, they charge $135. It varies from counties. So the same thing, again, we don't have a number on like a price amount as to what CPW or the sheriff is going to charge. But I would say it's probably safe to say that it's going to, after they pay for the class, and then CPW, the sheriff, I mean, they're looking at a few $100s, easy out the door, probably $300-400. And that's not even including the cost of the firearm.
Additional questions for this panel? Rep. Brooks, last question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And it's in two parts. Ms. Flanell, if you could just please restate your title, because I believe it's relatively new. You'd recently started work with CSSA. I just want to make sure that that's on record.
Ms. Flanell.
I am the Vice President of Legislative Engagement for Colorado State Shooting Association.
Okay.
Representative Brooks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Flanell. Just one quick follow-up. You had mentioned that you understand that this is now coming from Parks budget, that it's not necessarily the Wildlife Fund, but still it sounded like to me that you have some concerns that monkeying around in this fund in general may end up drawing some ire and wrath from Washington, and perhaps that's still, even though it is coming out of the parks, might still end up then making the state in a very difficult position for the Pittman-Robertson funding. Was that a fair assessment?
Ms. Flanell.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Representative Brooks. Yes. So I think it doesn't really matter where you guys are pulling this from. It's still messing with Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And again, I mean, you can, hire the best CPA or the best, person to make it look like, you did whatever with the funding. Ultimately, it's going to be up to the Trump administration when they look at this, and if they think that the funds were misappropriated and they were, if there was some diversion of these funds, as I stated in the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 80.21. I think that it still puts us in jeopardy to lose that revenue from the Pittman-Robertson. And that averages anywhere from about 27 million to 30 million, well, 32 million, give or take, depending on how many firearms are sold that year.
All right, that concludes this panel. Thank you all very much for being here today.